the victory, 128 laps without a pit stop.
Donnie Kite's gonna get through it all and score his first career win. Saturday Night Racing League throwback at Charlotte goes to Josh Adams.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to a Week 5 edition of the Super Formula 23 series here on iRacing, presented in part by SimRacingNation.com and here on Vspeed, the Super Formula series. I'm your host, Morgan Cook, alongside me, Bradley Cooper, making sure everything gets on the screen the way it's supposed to, and you are watching Vspeed if you haven't already. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss a moment of this great racing action. This week, we find ourselves Fuji Speedway Grand Prix Edition here in Japan. Beautiful facility. Just over 2.8 miles around, 16 corners, large elevation changes, and one of the longest straightaways in all of motorsports. Bradley, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this track has seen a number of different configurations, and actually as it started out, the racetrack was going to be a super speedway back in the early 60s when it was first constructed, and they ran out of money. I believe it was Mitsubishi that ended up buying the racetrack, reconfigured it into a road circuit, but even then, it only had 7 corners at completion, and since then it's been reconfigured twice and closed down in 2004 to what it is today in its current status with 16 corners in that final one as they climb multiple chicanes and change elevation of almost 300 feet climbing to the top of that hill as they come down one of the longest straightaways in Japan. It's over a mile long.
when it's one of those racetracks, we kind of cut into two different pieces. The first section, all the way from the start finish line down to about turn 10, that Dunlop chicane. It's flowy. They're single apex corners for the most part. You can handle it pretty easily. But then the back part of the racetrack, up the hill, as Bradley just mentioned, up the start finish line, is a very difficult part of this racetrack, and there is really nothing else like it in the world.
Of course, going back to the history of this racetrack, it's Toyota owned now, and of course Toyota and Honda going to be out here on the racing circuit. Take a quick look at the points here, Morgan. Big changes here. It was actually Tavares that had the lead the last time we covered it of 3 weeks participation, but now 5 weeks in, look at Dennis Branch taking over the top spot with 15 wins.
15 wins, Brett Greaves right behind him. Tobias Gerber, Marcos Alarson, and Andrew Petty, your top 5, and all those drivers have at least 3 wins. See the big number, 27, of course. Tavares got 7 more since we talked to him a couple weeks ago. Then you can see the rest of your driver standings there for your top 20. This is across all of iRacing drivers who have participated in this series. So it's very impressive to be up here in the top 20 of an iRacing official series.
Race analysis up on your screen tonight. 27 laps and pit road speed limiter, of course, on these cars. And they have tire sets available. It's unlimited, but they do have a wet alternative. And there is a chance of rain, as there was the last time we covered there at Silverstone. And so maybe we get to see this capable car on wet surface. I know that this track is already difficult enough, but could you imagine the washout, especially in the low spots of this racetrack? I bet it ponds up there around turn 6, and it's probably going to be a lot of runoff coming down the racetrack. They'll have to change their line. And then imagine the straightaways where, you know, you're going over 200 plus miles per hour down this front stretch and then go into turn 1 blindly with all that rain and wet splashing on that helmet. I think it's going to be difficult if it does rain here tonight.
Absolutely would be difficult, but I don't imagine we're going to see much rain tonight, but anything can happen here in Japan, and we are just a couple seconds away from the cars being on the grid. Let's get to it, Bradley.
Starting on that top spot, Timothy Larson going to put it on the top with a 1:21 3:69. He gets the pole by about 1/10 of a second over Carter Lundy in the number 5. Row number 2 is going to belong to Marcos Alarcon, and Andrew Petty will start in the 4th position. Florian Safrakowski here, and James Byrne in the 6th position. 7th spot, Dennis Branch, your points leader. And it's Edward Opere Arye in 8th position, top 10, with Tavares and Greaves in the 11th.
Starting in the 11th position will be Miguel Fachado. 12th will be Ludovic Rasson. 13th, Gerhard Roetz. 14th to be Nadia Mel. 15th, Yuki Sarakawa. 16th to be Jamie Byrne. And 17th will be Shane Lambert. For your grid here, that's the entire 17-car grid. 5180 is the strength of field here tonight. That is unbelievably high. That's probably the highest split I've ever seen on iRacing.
We're sitting here at our start. No rolling starts here in this one. Standing start, and you can see that long straightaway. They're going to get well over 150 miles per hour before they hit turn 1. I'd imagine that this is probably going to be the most difficult part of this race, is everybody getting to turn 1 without taking each other out. Here we go.
They are off. 4 and 5 wide as they try and jockey for position down to turn number 1.
Already,
a couple spins
right
in the
there.
back.
Shirakawa sideways here, already broken the front end off that car.
It is destroyed, absolutely. Rest of your field, a single file out. And just turn 1. Happens everywhere. Turn 1 is a tight corner. Try and go 3-4 wide through there, just not going to work. And some simple contact, a little bit of net code. Rip the side right off that machine.
was actually just behind him here. I know he cut down a little bit, but car right was definitely on that spotter's mind, and now he's just trying to salvage it back to the pits as we come up on completing lap 1. 2 more corners left, and it's Timothy Fritz Larson holding the top spot here. Starting to pull away a little bit by about 2.5 seconds.
Now they are all just trying to keep up with them right now. No push to pass quite yet, but this long straightaway, a lot of slipstream opportunities. You can see a little further back, battle for 4th. Petty trying to go around a couple of them here. Get right to the inside, hits that apex perfectly. Down into Coca-Cola. He's gonna be on the outside though, that's not gonna help. Up in the runoff area, gonna lose that position.
So there's certain areas on this racetrack where you will get a penalty if you overshoot or cut the racetrack. I'm not sure if a penalty was assessed there, but it'll be a slowdown for a couple seconds, and we'll have to let those drivers by. I don't think they got one on that, but nonetheless, probably breaking traction over those rumble strips, had to lift off of it anyway.
Absolutely, and in that corner specifically, that turn 3 Coca-Cola corner, you really would have to push it well off the racetrack to have that be a penalty. And we see Brett Greaves, number 11, off the racetrack right now. He's on the pit lane, so something happened to that number 11. Not sure what happened there.
And Shirakawa is still driving around this place right now with 3 tires.
Unbelievable. Must have a meatball. I'm assuming, though, if he ever hits the pit lane, they'll just say, too much damage, we're done. Wants to get a little airtime here in this top split here on Vspeed.
Oh, this thing's got to be difficult to get around here, though.
Well, the brakes don't work. Yeah, that would be incredibly difficult to drive. Safarowski just got passed. James Byrne goes around him.
It's tight from 5th on back to around 10th position. Another runoff back there. I think that was Tavares that actually...
Oh, someone's spinning.
Sideways here, trying to find that car.
Oh, it's Greaves again.
Greaves just came back out on the racetrack, and it looks like the left rear suspension broken off.
It is. Cold tires, I think, were the culprit there, but let's go back and have a look at it.
Oh, man. Ran into him.
Oh, no. Was that Ranson, potentially? Saw some upset drivers in chat. I think that's exactly who it was. Missed the corner. Wasn't Ransom, but somebody came back in front of somebody. Obviously heavy damage to another car out here. Not exactly sure who that is.
And Shirakawa is now coming to the pit lane. Looking like the day is over for the 7. And it all happened within the first probably half a mile there through turn 1. As we watch this battle for the lead start to shape up. Carter Lundy catching up to Larson. Larson's held every lap so far. That lead dwindling away a little bit.
Their top 4 have not changed positions at this point in the race, and 2 of them are still within about 2 seconds. It's Timothy Free Larson, Carter Lundy, and Marcos Alarcon are your top 3. Trying to break away from the rest of the field.
These battles kind of continue back here in the 6th, 7th position. There's Dennis Branch, your points leader, trying to catch up to Serf. And I'm butchering this name. It's Florian. I'm going to go with Florian.
Safarowski.
And yeah, sorry about that, but Dennis Branch has peeled off about 3/10 a lap here, catching up to this top 5. He is definitely on the move. See if he can keep this pace all the way to lap 27. He could definitely get a top 3 if he keeps it up.
Yeah, points leader for a reason. Side by side down here into turn number 1. Preferred lane is the inside. Will it be an advantage right here? Absolutely. Going to push him out wide a little bit. Yeah. Use all the racetrack.
Yeah, I think there may have been a little bit of wheel touch there into turn 1. But you saw down that front stretch, both those green lights were on. They were flashing. So trying to overtake one another. When we covered Silverstone there was only a handful of places.
Way off the racetrack.
Way off the racetrack back here. That's a Mel.
That's a Mel, yeah. Went for a bit of a ride.
Maybe
just didn't turn.
Failure.
Looks like it.
This car's just going to go straight through. Ride back on board.
This is in, I believe, 6. Yeah, he turned, it got loose, and then he just stopped. Interesting.
Half a second here for the lead. Lundy still chasing him down, and again, I want to go back to that pace that Branch had. He's fallen off this last time by, as we see a pass just in front of him for 5th.
They're trying. Pass going to be made. Zafarowski's going to fall back to the 6th position right now. One thing about this racetrack I find so interesting is if you can just maintain through the kind of what I would call road course section, of course everything but that front stretch, if you can just maintain through there and have a car in front of you, you can get the advantage and draft all the way by them on that straightaway as long as you get a good run out of 16. So that's what a lot of drivers are trying to do here today, is just maintain, be within a second-ish, use the overtake button, and see if you can get that pass done into the first turn.
Seeing a little bit of trim there just a second ago. Got a little bit off of the rumble strips into the grass there for James Byrne. And I thought he was going to lose it. These cars so erratic sometimes when you touch the wrong part of those rumble strips or break the traction in that grass. It's so slippery. And through this technical part of the racetrack for turns 11 through 16, you do not want to make that mistake. It is so easy to get an off track and spin this car around.
And one thing we haven't touched on in that section of the track as well is all of those corners, they start off wide and they tighten on the exit. And then they do the same thing back the other direction. They get wide and tighten on the exit. It makes it very difficult to hit those apexes properly. You're really just pleased to get through that section without getting it off track a lot of times because you can lose so much ground in that area of the facility.
And through this portion of the racetrack, they're still going over 130 miles per hour. Out of Coca-Cola corner up to 150. And all the way down to 78. That is the hairpin, for certain. So many different varieties of corners here at this racetrack, and I think that's why it's so memorable. A lot of people have been on the service and played this, but this track goes all the way back to Gran Turismo, and I know, Morgan, that was kind of my reference for this racetrack, and it was even old. It was the 2004 configuration that I was familiar with. So when I saw Fuji was on the schedule, I was excited and was like, well, what did they do to the back half of this place? That's a lot more corners than I remember.
Yeah, I have also played this game quite a bit on the Gran Turismo games, and I haven't driven on iRacing quite yet, but hopefully I'll do an endurance race here in the future. But yeah, definitely a difficult complex of corners to end this one off, and very memorable to anyone who's ever driven here. We got a battle for the lead now. It's under 0.3 of a second. Big dive into turn number 1. Defensive line for the leader. Locked him up a little bit. Second spot is there. Lundy trying to make a move.
A little bit of defense here. He's going to put him out wide on the entrance of this corner.
Crossover.
Over and over. Over and under, but they're coming up on the hairpin. Lundy's going to think better of this. I don't think he want to be to the left side through this hairpin.
That's the one technical part of the track pre-turn 10 is right there. You want to stay as far to the right as you possibly can. They all did that. Now into the chicane. Can you make it happen? Think better of it there as well. Set up for turn 1. And third place is also creeping in. Alerson is not too far away. He's within range.
We saw this at Silverstone where the top 5 kind of accordion back together about the midway point. It's happening a little bit earlier this time. The track conditions, 85 degrees on the track surface, 73 with overcast. So that temperature will continue to fall. I don't think they're wearing out their tires too much unless they're gonna keep snaking down this front stretch. That's probably the most of their tire wear right now.
Yeah, pretty hard tires they have on these machines, and the tire wear excellent to begin with. Some of the fastest cars on Earth right here, about the second fastest is from what I've understood. Just behind only, sorry, the Formula One machines. The only cars faster around this facility than you see the Formula B-class cars right now. So we are ripping here in the top 5, under half a second separate these two.
How quick they're cycling through these gear changes. You just got to stay focused every single corner. There's 16 opportunities to make a mistake, but then you got to multiply that by all these gear changes. Downshifting too soon or missing an upshift, you could lose ground. Just continues to be difficult. And that's, you know, simultaneous while you're trying to chase the guy down in front of you and not, you know, make a mistake and get into contact or maybe miss a brake zone and take you both out.
I don't know about you, Bradley. I always would much rather be the guy in second right now, Carter Lundy, trying to chase down Free Larson than trying to be that leader and defend. I was never any good at that. Looked in the mirror too much. But being that guy in second, having that carrot dangle out in front of you, that's racing for me. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
Well, it makes it easier for me to gauge the corner that might be coming up, but you can see how much later braking is for Lundy. Larson probably trying to just conserve the tires, give dirty air on certain parts of this racetrack. As long as he can maintain the lead down the front stretch, I think he'll be okay for now.
Agreed. It's all about turn 16 right now. Don't lose it in this road course section, of course, but if you can get a good run off of 16 and have some positive momentum right off the start of that corner, it's going to be incredibly difficult for anyone to pass you at the end of that straightaway.
And you'll notice some names down at the bottom of the screen on that scroll bar. This is one of those names. Andrew Petty and a few others have donated to keep this live on Vspeed. And if you'd like to continue watching Formula B action in the iRacing official series top split, there is a link in the video description down below. You can donate directly to simracingnation.com. Help keep us live and going, as we still have plenty of racing left this season. This is week number 5 at Fuji. Top 5 hasn't really changed hands at all.
Now everyone is keeping everyone else in check, from your top 2 all the way back to 12th and 13th, only separated by about half a second. There aren't really very many large gaps throughout this field. I think you're probably looking at the biggest one right behind that car right there.
That's a big gap of about 4.5, 5 seconds. Apparent Arye a little bit off the pace here. I think part of that was from the start of this race where we had Shirakawa and Greaves kind of get sideways there, and I think there's just been a multitude of incidents that happened from turn 1 that these guys have never been able to recover.
In a road course race like this, where there's nothing, like we're familiar with oval racing, of course, Bradley, where you have cautions all the time that kind of bring the field back together.
Right.
We don't have that here. Localized cautions only. So if there's an incident, no one's slowing everyone down to get everyone back together. No safety cars here, so it gets very difficult to catch up. You got to do it strictly on raw pace, which is a lot easier said than done in most situations.
He's riding on board with Jamie Byrne. Last car on the racetrack right now. We have 3 that have left early. So 13 still out here, and Jamie Byrne definitely catching up. Let's Rowet's in front. The battle for the lead heating back up again, Morgan.
Absolutely. 4/10 separate them, and Lundy is keeping Free Larson right where he wants him. In touch, and they are pulling away slowly as well from 3rd position. El Saran and Petty is kind of hanging out in 4th 8th position, just trying to keep tabs on these guys. Making sure they don't get too far away as we head down into that turn 10 Dunlop corner.
And it's that chicane right there that the Grand Prix version of this racetrack uses. Imagine the speed if they didn't have to cut so far right. It's almost a hairpin on its own.
Yeah, the slowest corner on this racetrack, I would have to imagine, is that chicane. You don't have that big run, the big running start like you do on the front stretch in turn number 1. Definitely gets these cars wound up. Big test of braking and basically how much you want to drive that car into the corner, because there's not a lot of payoff if you miss it.
Continuing to snake around and break that draft wake. Lundy just trying to find a way to brake later. He's going to get right up on the bumper again on that rear spoiler. Tell you, Lundy has definitely surprised me with keeping that pace. That late braking can typically wear out the front tires a little bit sooner, but still keeping pace. Larson probably starting to feel that pressure.
If he is, he's not showing it at all. He's kind of like the Iceman out here right now. Oh, a little off track right there. Pushed a little bit wide in that section. Didn't cost him any time. See some drivers really on that overtake button. In different parts of the racetrack, you have 200 seconds total to play with. But once you use it, you have to wait 100 seconds to use it again. So you can't use it lap after lap. You have to really be smart about it and conserve it. So maybe where do you use it? On the front stretch, do you use it down into the chicane? Do you use it out of turn number 1 and 2 into Coca-Cola? What is the right place to use that little speed boost? Every driver's got a different opinion on that.
Watching a battle back here with 8th and 9th position starting to heat up a little bit. That's Tavares and Renson. I think if you gauge the speed of this back half of the field, they're about half a second off this last time by. But I think it's going to flip-flop. I think some of these drivers that are close to the top 5 are going to start to pick up the pace. We haven't really seen them have any pass opportunities in the top 5. So I wonder if when they start racing, maybe the rest of this pack can catch back up to them. The rest of this group can catch back up to the tail end of that top 5.
Definitely part of it. Definitely possible here, and we're halfway through this race now, so some drivers may be treating this more of a, not quite an endurance race, but maybe a bit of a longer marathon-esque sort of race, just kind of keeping cool for the first half and then really pushing in the second half, where other drivers are treating it as a sprint race. Go hard all 27 laps, and I'm curious to see if maybe, like you mentioned, some of those drivers hanging around 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th are willing to really push the power now and try and get up to those front runners here in the back half of this race.
I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that James Byrne and Jamie Byrne are related, just based off of those paint schemes alone. And we'll go with the last name as well. So not quite sure on the relationship here, but it's kind of opposite ends of this race. Top 5 for James. Jamie back here at the tail end of the field, just trying to figure out a way around Roetz. Still working on the back of the field from 13th position. Again, started in 16th, so gained some spots, but would like to pass for a few, I think.
Yeah, and Jamie is definitely faster than Roetz right now. Roetz, one of the donators for this one, so one of the donors for this one. Appreciate everyone who donated to make this thing possible, but Jamie's a little bit faster here. A couple hundredths, just can't quite find a way around the number 14 machine.
Man, another late break there into the chicane. Turn 13. I know that this is a handful. In dirty air, it's got to be even more difficult, but then when you're seeing that driver behind you braking later and later and later, just trying to keep pace with you, Lundy's going to push even harder when we get down to 5 to go. How much later can you brake on this thing?
Not much. He's getting pretty much all of it that he can, and you got to remember as well, he's got the extra slipstream speed and see him pushing him a little bit farther. So if he's ever able to make this pass, he could probably break a little deeper into the corner than he is right now.
Oh,
there it is. The opportunity he needed. He got down to the bottom. Does not have preferred line to Coca-Cola. They touch. Down through turn number 2 into Coca-Cola. Lundy has to give way. He's going to try and cross him over.
And this is what I was worried about earlier. They're going to get to the hairpin. He's going to be on the left side of that car.
He's got to try it now, though.
Taking it out wide.
We got to be outside of him. Another crossover.
Doing everything he can. Lundy trying. Here's the chicane where he was out, breaking him. And an elevator move.
And here comes third. He's right there. The top 4 now nose to tail.
Larson being very patient here. Man, the top 4 accordion back together quickly, didn't they?
They absolutely did. Got to get a good run out of Panasonic here.
It's not yours yet, Lundy. It's not yours yet.
Look at the snake down the front stretch. All 4 of these in lockstep.
Another side-by-side for second.
Might make it for the lead as well.
You can see that leader, Lundy had to use the push-to-pass to keep ahead of these cars because they had so much draft working against him.
Yeah, being too wide, punching a big hole in the air. It's the only thing he could do to stay in front of him, and he absolutely timed it right because he is now still the leader down into the hairpin. And we've seen it be very difficult to make any passes in this half of the racetrack.
Take a look at the last lap times. Lundy, the fastest. And then you had the Ford just about 100th of a second or two there. But that was that draft coming down the front stretch. And now we saw the top 4 start to spread back up. James Byrne gonna make it 5 cars as Petty gets a little loose there.
A lot of rear power in these cars. 550 horsepower. They're excellent in the high speed. Not a ton of grip in the low speed section, so you can't be like a light switch on this throttle pedal or he will go around for sure here. Final 10 laps heating up.
Bunch of James Byrne now at the tail end of this top 5. Like I said, I think we're going to see this all accordion back together, at least for, I think, 1st through 7th. I think Dennis Branch is going to find his way to the top 5 easily. Although, a few mistakes here and a pretty big gap now. Branch was on pace, but a little bit off here these last couple of laps, and now it's about 4 seconds up there. Florian Safrakowski, I think, is a little bit closer than I think Dennis Branch wanted to be there. Just, I don't know what happened to the 3.
And not sure either. He definitely fell back. Now about 8 seconds behind your leader. 4 seconds behind Safrakowski, like you said.
Man,
back in 7th.
Loose.
Yeah, these guys are driving it. Absolutely. 10 laps to go. If you let somebody get around you, you're probably not going to get back by them. So you got to defend everything it's worth right now. We're also dealing with some of the best iRacing has to offer. Drivers, all these top 5 are up above 5,200 in terms of rating, which is well up in the top like 3% of the series, so, or 3% of the service. Definitely some incredible drivers on display here.
We're watching that snake movement back and forth. Byrne just trying to find a way around for 4th position. Petty defending it well, but these are the portions of the racetrack where I think Byrne has the advantage. Petty's been loose off of the last 2 or 3 corners. When we got to around Dunlop, he's kicked it out sideways through hairpin, able to hold it down, actually gets a little bit of a pull away. And Byrne definitely going to catch. Let's see if they use a push to pass down this front stretch.
It's within the window to be able to use the slipstream to his advantage. But the question is, how powerful is that push to pass going to be? Can he end up making that move? Or will Petty also use the push to pass and kind of negate the advantage that the draft would have?
Yep. Already seeing it flash there. Seen a lot of flashing lights down this front stretch.
It is the obvious place to use the push to pass. It's the longest straightaway. There's no curves anywhere around. It's into a hard braking zone. I mean, it's basically a perfect recipe for a push to pass opportunity. The other spot, of course, would be down after turn number 1 right here. Going down the hill if you're brave enough into turn number 3. And other than that, it would be after turn 6, the hairpin down into that Dunlap corner number 10. That's the other spot to use the push to pass. There aren't really any other opportunities around this facility.
So it's pretty spread out. We're going to go back here to Jamie Byrne for a quick moment as we approach 7 laps to go. And Rowitz, Byrne, they've been nose to tail for about 10 laps now. Not really pushing the issue here for Jamie Byrne, but I would be interested to see if he's holding back for these last 5 laps. Maybe he could work up there to Fichato. I don't think a top 10 is on the menu here. It's a pretty big gap of over 7 seconds back there. We are watching Dennis Branch start to pick it back up. Sarafkowski is definitely within range. It takes on, just trying to catch up there to James Byrne.
And he's just outside that slipstream window as Byrne is right on the rear
sideways.
wing. Oh, someone's around. That's Alerson. Alerson is around. I think he was in second, was he not? Second or third?
Alisson Gonzalez sideways. He was in the 3rd position when that all went wrong. Hadn't left it since the beginning of this race, and a mistake into turn 1. Let's see if we go back and find exactly where this went wrong. Just locked it up, I think. Touched that inside rumble strip.
We were talking about how you can't use this pedal like a light switch, the throttle pedal that is, because there's so much rear power, 550 horsepower. Yeah, he definitely unsettled it on that curve there. That's tough brake, was running so well. Back to 6th now.
Everybody able to avoid him. This actually creates a gap back to Andrew Petty now of over 3 seconds. So I'm curious if these two could slipstream and maybe work together a little bit to catch back up to this top 2. I know, again, that might go back to my oval roots, that's even a possibility, but I think if these 2 cars maybe stay in line for a little bit, as I say that, they start racing each other into turn 1. Overtake there for James Byrne, top 3.
Well, I have my doubts that they're going to be able to use that to their advantage, as Timothy Free Larson, who is right up to the back bumper now of Carter Lundy, just put down a 21.4, which is by far the fastest lap we've seen today. Top 2, with the fuel burning off, they have found the speed here. Like you mentioned, 3.5 seconds separating 2nd and 3rd, but there's only about 2 car lengths that separate your first 2.
I have to catch them through these technical parts as best as they can, because once they hit the front straightaway, I think it's just going to be slipstream and gone. Again, the fastest laps coming here at the tail end. Coming up on 5 to go, and this is about the time you'll start seeing these 121s. We might even see a 120 if they hit it just right.
Definitely in the realm of possibility. Last lap was a 121.42 for Larson. That one was a 121.9, so not quite as fast. In fact, a little bit slower even than Carter Lundy, the leader, was. Both running 21.9s as they dive it down into turn number 1. Fastest car on the racetrack last time by. 6th place. Marcos Alerson, of course, who just spun out of turn number 1 a lap previous.
Yeah, he's trying to make up for that time lost. But you don't want to make a second mistake because you've got Dennis Branch and a few others behind that are within striking distance. If you spin out again like you did in turn 1, you could probably see yourself at the tail end of the top 10.
Still very impressive how we're talking about 25, 22 laps into a race. And that is the only mistake that the four made, apologies, the entire day. Really, the entire top 6 is made the entire day. It's really the only kind of slip that we've seen of more than just a brief second of too much power and sliding through tires just a little bit. But that was the only time we've seen any of these top 5 have any sort of big slide or out of control moment. Very, very impressive, the strength of field that we're seeing here in this top split.
Yep, that's why they're top split. And for certain, when you blink one time, that's all it can take. So you're watching Lundy pull away a little bit here in the closing laps. 4 to go from Fuji. Larson, who led the first half of this race, trying to chase back down on Carter Lundy. James Byrne, who's gained a few spots to get to the top 3. Great drive for him so far. Just behind that, it's Andrew Petty in 4th position. He's stayed there all race long for the most part. Pat Frykowski in 5th position, staying there. Again, this goes back to a lot of the drivers that haven't really changed position. Most of this top 5, the same names, and the one mistake there for the 4, I believe is going to recover nicely. Maybe a top 5 in the realm of possibility. Go back to Dennis Branch. Quiet race so far. I'm not quite sure. I've been trying to work this out with Trading Paints. I know that we have a few cars that aren't showing. They're showing here on the bottom graphic, but for whatever reason do not show, and I apologize to anybody. I refreshed it probably 10 times before we even started up the broadcast tonight. But for everybody there that has a custom paint, we'll try our best to try to fix this issue. I know Trading Paints has been acting a little wonky for a lot of people.
Yeah, Ludwig Ranson back here in 9th position. So just about finished our through the field. Edward O'Perry here in the 10th spot. Down a couple from where he started. Miguel Fachado in 11th, exactly where that machine rolled off the grid. Gerhard Rowitz in the 12th spot, up 1 from his 13th starting position. And last car running, we've talked about him a few times, Jamie Burns, up 3, tied for the biggest mover with James Byrne, apologies, and Ludwig Ranson, all those 3 up 3 spots. Drivers off the racetrack right now, Nadia Mel, Yuki Shirakawa, and Brett Greaves have all retired from the race. They will finish 14, 15, and 16, respectively.
Lundy's lead is pulled out to 7/10 as we approach 2 to go. We're in the final segments of this racetrack, final segments of this race altogether. That long straightaway, just phenomenal drive off. Saw another 3/10 just in that corner alone. It'll stretch the lead out to over a full second. Now up to 1 2/10. Continuing on. I think Lundy might just run away with it.
We've gotten to the point now in this lead where the slipstream isn't going to make a difference. I think that gap is only about 9/10 of a second where that slipstream is viable. They're outside of that now, so really it's just one-on-one. Who can run this section better? Who can get through the road course part better? Get off of 16, into the chicane, into the hairpin, all that stuff. Better than the other one, and that's who's going to win the race here. And Lundy has been putting on a master class how to get around the speedway here these last 20 or so laps.
We just saw it there with the overtake off. I think now out of range of the slipstream. It's going to take a mistake from Lundy as we hit 1 to go in just about a mile. It's absolutely going to take a mistake. I don't think that Larson can catch him.
Someone just went around. Petty just went around.
Oh, and 2 to go. Another mistake here for a top 5 driver. Petty's going to lose 2 spots, maybe 3. There's Dennis Branch. Not able to complete the overtake, but will be within range down the front stretch. Let's see if we can back it up real quick as we're about to take the white flag. Back this up a little bit further. There it is off of that chicane, and just a miscue here, Morgan. I'm not sure if it's that power switch you were talking about, or maybe just tire wear, because we saw Petty kind of struggling earlier with those back tires.
I think he just caught that curb a bit different than he had been before, upset the car a little bit, but let's go back to your leader. Into the hairpin for the final time today. Carter Lundy, 1.5 seconds is the gap. Into the very treacherous Dunlop curve, turn number 10 for the final time today and up. Climbing the hill. One more corner complex left. Until Carter Lundy goes out and grabs a win this season. Onto the straightaway. And your winner today gonna be Carter Lundy. Top split winner.
Formula B Open Series win here for Carter Lundy. Pole sitter Timothy Larson. Little bit of disappointment, but still a podium finish here. James Byrne died for the biggest mover of the race here. There's your podium finishers. Lundy probably happy with the way this all turned out, was able to overtake somewhere around lap 11 or 12 and never looked back. Once the 5 got the lead, it was see you later, just continuing to put a 10th or 2 a lap on Larson. Seemed like even though they were braking a little bit later for Lundy, it never seemed to affect the handling.
Yeah, that's part of just the, when they designed these cars, they took a little bit of downforce out of it to allow this side-by-side racing action and being able to get right up behind somebody like that. And boy, we're glad they did that, or else the leader would really be able to drive away more so than normal here, as he takes the little added chicane, just trying to make it fair for everybody else, as he was definitely the fastest car out here tonight.
Get those final race results up on your screen as we drive our cool down lap around this place. It was, well, it was kind of the same here for the top 5, just a jostle around for positions, but the mistake there made by Petty, and Alderson able to get back into the top 5 because Petty made that mistake, but Alderson also made a mistake. The 16 of Sarah Wowski is, I can't say the K in that. I don't know why. It breaks my brain. I apologize. But 4th position there. The top 5 pretty much stayed the same here. It was difficult to overtake, but there's Ronson getting about 3 spots gained, I believe, tying there with James Byrne for those 3 positions gained. And again, this goes back to just minimizing mistakes in this whole race. 27 laps, it doesn't seem like much, but there's 16 corners, and you just multiply that when you get up next to somebody trying to complete an overtake.
Absolutely, and we saw it happen a couple times when the leaders got side by side. It slowed them down by 1.5 seconds-ish. It was allowed everyone else to catch back up. So if you're going to go side by side, you have to make it very quick. You can't run side by side with somebody because you'll lose so much time. And that played a bit of a factor into this race, as you want to catch up to somebody and pass immediately. It's just so difficult to do that. But Machado here in 11th, Rowitz in 12th, got Byrne in 13th, Hamel, Chiracqua, Greaves, and Lambert can be the rest of the field here. Lambert, of course, not gridding. Didn't start the race. What a fun one here in the Fuji Speedway, Japan. 27 laps, great racing, a lot of fun here, and glad for the opportunity again from iRacing, from SimRacingNation.com. to allow Vspeed and Bradley and I the opportunity to call these races, and seemingly it'll be once a week here for the foreseeable future with all the donations the way that they are. We got Carter Lundy here in the broadcast waiting room if we have an opportunity for an interview.
Absolutely we do.
Let's have a chat with our winner. Absolutely. All right, let's bring up here. Carter Lundy, Morgan and Bradley up in the booth. You got a copy.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. Nice to speak to you guys. Well, that was a pretty crazy race from my point of view.
Absolutely. You chased down Timothy Free Larson for about the first half of the race. You were right there, able to break a lot deeper into turn number 1, use the push to pass button and keep right on the back bumper there, right on the rear wing, I should say. And it wasn't until you were able to make some aggressive moves kind of in the infield section and on that front stretch to be able to get around them. How hard is it to set up a pass like that? And what was the thing that you finally needed to go your way to be able to make that pass for the lead?
Yeah, it was a tough pass to set up. I mean, as you saw, it took like over half the race. And I was using my push to pass a lot in the early stages of the race down the main straight, so I kind of knew the gap I needed to have if I wanted to use my push to pass and have a chance at an overtake. There were a couple times where I got close, but he just really closed the door on me, so I knew I had to use it a little bit in the middle of the lap to get myself closer, and then the slipstream would have helped down the straight. So I spent quite a while thinking about that one at the same time as I was trying to keep the car on the track, and then we had a really tight battle for about like a whole lap, and I don't know really how we didn't crash, but I'm sure it looked pretty good on the broadcast, and I am happy to come out on top of that one.
It absolutely was phenomenal to watch here, and I'm sure you've noticed that out the rear bumper as well, or out the rear cam as well, that I think 3rd, 4th, and 5th also caught you at the end of that. How nerve-wracking is it knowing that you're trying to go for the lead, but if it doesn't work out, now you have to defend a couple spots as well? How difficult is that as a driver?
Yeah, I knew once we had gone side by side through a few corners that the cars behind had caught up, so I knew it was now or never. I have to get by or else I'm going to get swallowed up by the pack. And then we went into the hairpin at the back of the lap, and there was like 4 cars in my mirror. I was like, this is it. I have to get by now. And then fortunately, I was able to pull a gap, and it sort of calmed down towards the end, and I brought it home in the end. So worked out pretty well.
Awesome. Well, we got you up here. Who you want to thank? Who you want to shout out here for a top split win on a Saturday afternoon?
I'll shout out Kevin Foster. He brought me into this. He showed me the super form of the broadcast, and he gave me a setup earlier today. So I want to shout out Kevin Foster.
All right. Well, good on you, Kevin Foster, for helping Carter Lundy get the win here this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. And congratulations.
Yeah,
Hopefully
thank you guys.
see a
Have
lot more of you here.
a good day or a good night at whatever your time zone is.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We got one
One
more.
more. Yeah, we got another one here. It's 3rd place.
Let's shout James Byrne.
James Byrne. It's Bradley Cooper, Morgan Cook in the Vspeed booth. Do you have a copy with us?
Yes, hello.
Hi, James. Well, it looks like today it started out a little bit cordial. You were quiet, and then everybody in front of you started falling apart about 10 laps to go, and you found your way to a podium finish tonight.
Yeah, I was just trying to get into a good rhythm and stay clean and hope I could pass some guys at the end. And it worked out at the end. I was a little disappointed with qualifying. I'd hoped to be front row, but can't always get what you want.
Well, and the racetrack seemed to have been the same all the way through practice and qualifying, but it changes during these races. You get all these cars grouped up, and that very start, you were back in 6th. You had some problems happen around you in turn 1. You were able to avoid it, but that 3 and 4 wide as we went into turn 1, how hectic was that for you, just trying to avoid everything moving around?
Tough. I was just hoping to hug the inside because usually an incident would head out wide. And it worked out. I haven't reviewed that bit yet. Yeah, I was just hoping to gain some spots and stay clean. Yeah.
Well, James, I also have another question for you. Jamie Byrne running a pretty similar paint scheme. I got to ask, relation to you at all?
Yes, he's my dad. He got me into iRacing quite a few years ago. And yeah, we went in the same paint scheme, work on setups together and such.
Well, there you go. You got bragging rights. You got a podium. Of course, Jamie back there was fighting with Rowitz there at one point, but 13th place there for Dad. James, congratulations on this top 3. I know this was a struggle. 5,800, I believe, was the strength of field here. So a pretty high class race here. And you coming in here tonight with a 73.65. You get third. Anybody want to shout out for today's podium?
Thanks to my dad for helping me a lot. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting too. I think it will be good for the series and help encourage participation. And that's about it.
Appreciate your times. James Byrne getting a top 3. We'll look forward to possibly seeing you next week.
Yep, see you then.
There you go, Morgan. It's 2 of the top 3 here. And of course, we encourage anybody that is part of this top split action to join our Discord here for Vspeed. And that detail will be on the weekly tune-in they post on iRacing's main page. So if you have troubles finding our Discord, there's also a link in the description and that donation link as well down below. And Morgan, it was another great one. I'm starting to grow fond of these super formulas.
I'm not going to get behind the wheel of one anytime soon, but they're definitely a lot of fun to watch here, racing around tracks like Silverstone and Fuji. Very excited to see what next week brings us, as we'll be back here at the same time, the same place here on Vspeed for another top split Super Formula B event. You're not going to want to miss it, folks. It's been a lot of fun so far. We're 2 in. We'll see what week 6 has for us.
So for everybody at Vspeed, Adam Baker in the background for all that he does, our other producers, Eddie Smith, Logan Threlkeld, Lucas Lyons, and for Morgan Cook, best lead commentator we got right now. I think we did a fantastic job. This is Bradley Cooper saying so long from Fuji. We'll see you next time on Vspeed.